Hello everyone and welcome to the Manufacturing Tech Stack webinar. My name is Chris Kennedy and I am the Partner Marketing Manager at CADTALK Software. Part of our core philosophy at CADTALK is that we integrate intelligently. And in the spirit of that value, we have come together with 5 ISVs in order to provide you, manufacturers, with some of the best specialized solutions to help you in your manufacturing journey. The result? 5 organizations that can help you make, sell, and ship your products faster, cheaper, and better, increasing your profits and making your customers happier. So without further ado, the Manufacturing Tech Stack. Please welcome our first presenter, DynamicWeb.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brad Vorbeck. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at DynamicWeb North America, and I've got Jasmine Leslie, our pre-sales engineer, with me here today. And we're going to be taking a quick look at our B2B e-commerce suite for Microsoft Dynamics 365. We are a comprehensive e-commerce suite, so it's actually considered a digital experience platform. So not only do we include the B2B and B2C e-commerce functionality, but we include self-service portals, product information management, the ability to centrally manage your products efficiently, content management, so the ability to create a fully customized website tailored to your customers' requirements, as well as integrated email marketing to round out that e-commerce experience with personalized email messages and follow-ups. We have a pre-built and flexible integration to Dynamics 365 through our flexible API. And that is a native framework we've built out for Dynamics 365, but it's customizable, so we can adjust that as needed to your needs. ERP updates and migrations are easy and independent of each other, so you're able to upgrade the Dynamics 365 solution independently of DynamicWeb and vice versa without impacting those integration points. You can integrate virtually any data point, so sales orders, quotes, product data, customer pricing, invoice payments, RMAs, and even custom business processes and self-service processes that go along with B2B, not typically found in B2C. So 3 things that make DynamicWeb different that I wanted to highlight are that it is B2B ready. So we include advanced features for B2B industries like quoting and RMAs and invoice payments, like I mentioned before. We have deep and flexible integration with Dynamics 365, and we can include calculations and business logic in that data transfer when needed. And we can tailor your digital experiences for your specific industry and for your customers' purchasing requirements. And we give you full access to the code, as well as a no-code and low-code visual editor to create great web pages for non-coders. We have been a Microsoft partner since 1999 when we were founded. We have multiple solutions out there on AppSource for you to explore. And as I mentioned, pre-built integrations with Microsoft Dynamics, and we are deeply involved with the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem. So now I'll hand it over to Jasmine Leslie, who's going to give us a quick demo of the DynamicWeb platform.
Alrighty, so here we are on the DynamicWeb platform. We're going to do a quick demo of our demo site that is based upon the mountain bike industry. So you're going to see product information, product images, and a customer experience that's targeted towards mountain bikers. Here we're going to look at the home page where we see different type of content that is designed in the back end of DW, a variation of video, images, and text that's all created in our content module using drag and drop features and also templates. As we move on beyond the homepage, we also have additional supporting content pages like a Contact Us page that also has an embedded form with our module Forms by Editors that can even allow for customers to upload documents. Lastly, as an example of a content page, we're going to jump into this inspiration page that's utilizing blog type of functionality to educate customers and also helping drive SEO. As we make a shift to products, here under this products dropdown, we'll see product categories and subcategories that are supporting the e-commerce experience. In the back end of DW, we use our PIM module to store product information to support these experiences on the front end of DW. Here, as we go through this page, we see a list view of products that are within the e-mountain bikes category. As we scroll through, we'll see facets and filters over here to the left that are supporting the customer search functionality. These facets and filters are going to be based upon product specs that are related to the products to the right. As we look at the products here to the right, we have limited product information, but we do have product number, product name, images, and the ability to add an item to the cart. We can see the pricing, we can see the stock, and we can also see delivery time. As we jump into a product page, we have quite in-depth product information, some being fed from the ERP, while other information is being stored in the backend of DW. As we look here to the right of the product, we see the product name and product number being fed from the ERP with a integration that we call a batch integration. Batch integration means that it's a scheduled task where we're pulling over that information from every 5 minutes to daily and from the Microsoft Dynamics ERP. Below here, you'll see where we have pricing. We have also stock availability that's being integrated with a live call to Microsoft Dynamics. So as soon as the page is loaded and the customer is logged in, this information is populated for the customer that's viewing the website. As we scroll through here, we'll see additional product information that's actually being stored in the backend of DW, like product images, product data, and product assets here. These assets could be user guides or manuals related to the product above. And then lastly, as we scroll through here, we'll see product videos that could be embedded from YouTube, and then also product specs that are helping drive facets and filters on the screen before on that product list page, but also showcasing product specs here on the product page. Here at the bottom of the page, we'll also see cross-selling and upselling opportunities for complementary products or products that are in related groups. Next, we're going to jump into the back end of DW and see some of the product information and also content module. Here in the back end, we have what we call our visual editor. This allows us to see that front end experience from the back end. So we just saw this product on the front end of the website, saw all the product assets. This is also a drag and drop page where we can edit this view very easily. And then also here on the home page, we can edit these types of pages also. You'll see that we manage this content in the format of rows and columns. So here is a row of content with 3 columns inside. I can determine what type of content I want to place in each of these columns, or determine what type of row makeup I want to add to the page here. I can use templates that are already available to me, but I can also use different row splits that are available, and I can decide what type of content needs to go inside of each column. Next, we'll jump into products. This is supporting our customers' product pages on the front end of the website. You'll see where we have all the product data stored here on the back end, supporting the customer experience on the front end. In most cases, we're using workflows to enrich product data. We're pulling the products over from Microsoft Dynamics. We're pulling over the product data that's available there, and then enriching beyond that product data here in the DynamicWeb workflow in the products module. We start out with newly arrived products. We see that there's limited or varying product data. Some products have images while others don't. Some products have a lot of information while others don't. But as it goes through the workflow here, all products are fully enriched. You'll see different stages that typically are going to mirror the departments within a company. You'll see here on the ready for engineering stage where we have product information that's specific to product specs. And then you'll also see the completeness rules, how complete a product is enriched for this stage. Whereas the ready for marketing stage, we have more marketing fields like product descriptions, short and long, and then also SEO data that's helping support that product page on the front end as well. We'll see that the product completeness rules are different for each stage in the workflow, allowing us to ultimately reach a 100% completeness rule before products are being pushed to the front end of the website. Lastly, here we have our email marketing module where we can create targeted campaigns, some of those being automated, like abandoned cart emails, back in stock notifications, or shipping notifications that are being triggered based upon customer behavior on the website. We can create these type of emails here, simply using that drag and drop features as well to build these type of pages. Things that set Dynamic Web Platform apart are segment searches. We have the ability to create segment searches based upon customer behavior on the site and target customers, like when's the last time a customer placed an order, when's the last time they logged into the website, and create an email campaign based upon that. Also, based upon our products module where we have rich product assets, Dynamic Web also is set apart by our digital asset portal. This allows for customers to be able to browse product assets like images and documents from a front-end user face, as well as internal team members be able to grab content or product information, branding type of documents, all from a front-end user face based upon the product data that is stored in DW. I think that's where I'll hand it off over to you, Brad. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Jasmine. So that wraps up our session today. If you have questions about the Dynamic Web Platform or you would like to see a tailored demo, please reach out to us on the contact information you see here. I want to thank everybody for their time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad and Jasmine. Dynamic Web's robust platform works in a B2B or a direct-to-customer context. They also have a native configurator and integrate with third-party CPQs as well. So whether you're building a custom order product for a customer or if you're shipping thousands of parts to a distributor, Dynamic Web has what you need. Now let's talk inventory with Netstock.
Hi everybody, Vaughan here from Netstock, and today I'm going to be presenting on how Netstock can enhance ERP functionality as an ISV in this tech stack specifically for manufacturers with a whole bunch of the other ISVs that are presenting today. Netstock is a demand and supply planning application. We use AI to help small and medium-sized businesses optimize their inventory and give them the tools to plan better and compete in their market. Today, I'm decided, because of the lack of time that we have, to use an example from one of our customers, quotations, to kind of demonstrate what it is that we can do, right? If this sounds familiar, this happens to a lot of manufacturers as well. So in this quote, they talk about the fact that they're managing shared components across multiple bill of materials. And the example that they use here are bottles that they use across 30 shades of liquid foundation. And the tedious manual calculations that they needed to do using ERP reporting and very complex spreadsheets that they put together to try and figure out what to manufacture, how much to manufacture, and how much to buy, or how many bottles to have across all of these bill of materials. And then the last sentence over there, which I also want to deal with in the demo, is that the inefficiencies and the hours that it took for all this extra planning, there were missed opportunities for optimizing inventory. So I'm going to try and deal with both of those things in the very short time that we have. So let's carry on. I'm going to jump into a demo. There's a lot of stuff here. I'm not going to get into everything in a lot of detail, but what I wanted to show you was that we have a forecasting engine that is automatically going to take the historical data out of the ERP and find the best fit forecast for every single item in every location to increase the accuracy of the forecasting, looking at things like seasonality and trends and outlier elimination and all those things that you need. We're also going to track our forecasts to see how we perform and make adjustments as we're going along and bring those anomalies to your attention. We're going to automatically classify the items. You can see AH over there. ABC based on value contribution, where A is the highest value contribution, high, medium, low based on volume of sales or velocity, where H is the highest selling 80% of my sellers. So AH is one of the bread and butter items of the business, 80% of the value contribution and 80% of the movement as well. You as a customer will set policies against these classifications, which will automatically drive investment into the areas that are most important to the business, that drives quicker stock turns and more profitability in the business, and we will automate that process for you. We'll also create an automatic safety stock calculation. It's a dynamic safety stock calculation that takes your policies for the item into consideration, but also calculates risk in the supply chain, both inbound and outbound risk, forecastability, reliability of that forecast, and reliability of the supply of that item, whether it be from a supplier, late supply, buffering safety stock, reducing or increasing safety stock based on that. We've calculated 25 days of optimal safety stock for this item over here. And this, I'm just using as an example, is perhaps a liquid foundation that Ilya wants to produce. All of those calculations, really the most important panes here are the panes in the middle. The inventory position over here is information that we're getting from the ERP. So out of the ERP, you want to pull our stock on hand, and we rely on the ERP for this information to be very accurate. This is what ERPs are really, really good at. They're good at telling you what you have, where it is, which shelf and which warehouse it's in. But it's not very good at telling you how much you should have. So we can see that we have 16,951 here. We have overdue demand customer orders that are going to consume 640. So our available stock levels are going to be 16,311. We have a manufacturing order for 3,500 that is ordered, going to be arriving within the lead time. So the manufacturing is nearly done. And that will bring us up to 19,811, which is our net stock position. And that's the position that we're getting from the ERP. Now, how much should I have? 20,000, 15,000? What is the right number? How does 19,800 compare to that? So what we've calculated is the optimal inventory levels. Based on the 40-day lead time, a 25-day safety stock, the reorder point should be at 65 days. Based on a 14-day replenishment cycle or manufacturing cycle, we want to cover for those 14 days that we're not manufacturing. So our order up to a maximum should be 79 days. If we then translate that back to units based on the forecast sales during that time, 35,542 is the number. We should be somewhere between min-max, which is between the safety stock of 11,000 and upward of that 35,000. And we're sitting at 19,000. So you can see that's lower than the reorder point over there. And therefore, we'd have to manufacture some items quickly to try and make sure we get back up to where we are within the lead time. So down here in the status pane is exactly that. Ideal order recommendation, 35 days worth of items that we need to manufacture, 15,731 of this specific foundation that we require. There are some constraints over here. So we've got 1,000 minimum manufacturing quantity and a 500 batch quantity constraint. So we've rounded down to 34 days, which is 15,500 to apply that batch quantity and get an optimal order, right? So we can see that very visually over there. There's the 15,000 recommended order and that big purple line over there. The gray area is our optimal inventory levels. The purple at the top is our maximum, and the bottom brown is our safety stock or minimum stock level. And then projecting into the future, we can see our closing stock as we sell the item, that will drop as that order for 3,500 manufactured arrives. It'll increase our stock again, and then we're going to sell. 14 days later, you can see there's another recommendation for 6,000 to be manufactured because we have future manufacturing 14 days ahead that we're planning. Sell. We're going to manufacture or recommend a manufacturing or another 2,500 over there. 14 days later, another 2,500. And on the 7th of October, which is 40 days from today, a lead time from today, if we start manufacturing those items today, we should be back up to maximum with those items being manufactured and ready for sale on the 7th of October. We won't be hitting the zero, so we won't stock out, and we'll be back up at maximum. And that's good. So we'll have enough of those, right? But not only do we have planned manufacturing for that period during the lead time, we also have planned manufacturing for the next 12 months. You can see when we're going to ask you to manufacture and when we expect it to arrive to stay within those optimal min-max levels into the future. So that's our forward manufacturing plan over there for the next 12 months. So now we know exactly what we're going to manufacture. And this is dynamic. As I said, as things change, this plan might change. But based on this plan right now, how do I now figure out how many bottles I need, not only for this item, but for any of the other shades? So we're going to use the bill of material structure out of the ERP. 20001 is a shade of foundation. These are the items that are used in the manufacturing of this foundation. And let's say COR002 is the bottle that we're going to be used. So let's see how the demand is driven down from this shade of foundation onto the bottle. We can see there's 20002 and the demand's coming down, but there's demand coming from all the other shades that use this bottle as well. And every single one of them have got their own 12-month manufacturing plan automatically created by Netstock that is driving demand down onto the bottle, so that I know the total demand, if I look in the table, of each of these items, consumption of this bottle in their manufacturing processes over the next 12 months. So we can see we need 1,300 bottles for 2001 in August. This item, this item, and this item, and this item, we're not going to manufacture in August, so we don't need anything. Those we do, that we don't, and so on and so on. So we need a total of 2,500 bottles for the manufacturing requirements for August, 4,200 in September, so on and so on. This is our projected consumption, projected consumption based on the manufacturing plans for all of these items. That then becomes the forecast that drives levels for bottles. So here we have the optimal levels for bottles. We have the inventory position out of the ERP, and we're sitting at 71 days. How does that compare? We need 46 days is our order up to. So looks like we're in excess over there. What does the status bar say? The status bar says we're okay. It's not recommending anything, and it's not telling us it's in excess. Why is that? We've got a minimum order quantity of 10,000. So we have to order 10,000 every time we order. That's that dotted purple line over there. So we don't see this as excess because we know we have to order up the dotted purple line every time we order based on the supplier constraint of 10,000. So we're actually tracking between the dotted line and that brown line at the bottom, which is our minimum. So we're doing okay. We have enough bottles for any of the manufacturing we require for any of the shades of that item. So now Ilya has tons of time. They don't have to do any of these calculations. What do they need to do? Well, they just need to go to the orders page, and we will have orders, recommended orders every single day based on any item that's gone through its reorder point, right? So on production line, there are now 108 items that have come up for production in the next 14 days that we need to produce right now. From suppliers, there are a couple of raw materials here and there that we need to purchase as well, and we can go into each of those orders. But if we look at the production line and we create the order, it'll bring up a list of those 108 items that we need to produce or manufacture. Right at the top is 2001, that shade over there, recommended order of 15,500 that needs to be manufactured, and all the information I need about that item over there. Once I've reviewed these items, I then just hit the download button, and that will create recommended work orders in your ERP, which can then be actioned within the MRP to make sure that we start producing those orders and those orders go into production. Once they go into production there, we can see that in Netstock, and those items will come off of our daily recommendations for production on this. So now Ilya's got tons of time because they're not doing any of these calculations. They're just managing their orders and making sure that the orders are going out in time. So now they want to look for opportunities for optimization. We have an AI opportunity engine that does just that. So it's generative AI that's going to use the ERP data from the customer to find the biggest opportunities across the business to optimize inventory, whether that be money tied up in excess inventory or surplus orders, or cash lost in lost sales or potential lost sales in the future. We're going to bring those to your attention. Not only are we going to say we detected here 358 units of this item over here, which I can drill down to in the central store, okay? When this order arrives, because it's on order, it'll generate excess inventory to the value of $18,000. We're going to tie up $18,000 worth of inventory. Delay those orders, or even better, cancel them as soon as possible. So not only are we serving up opportunities to our customers, we're also giving them advice on what they should do so they can drill into that item and go and action that. We've served up over 1 million of these opportunities to our customers worldwide since 2023, and we've been making a really big impact on their businesses. So what is the ROI of getting it right and using Netstock? So on average, we increase forecast accuracy by 50%, and everything is driven by the forecast. Remember, better planning happens first with better forecasting. We're going to reduce the time that it takes you to do all those calculations by up to 70%, which is going to free up time for you to go and look for those opportunities. And those opportunities are then going to drive, on average, a 25% reduction in inventory levels, and at the same time, on average, a 15% improvement in fill rates, which means more sales and happier customers at the same time. So that's the ROI that we can produce for manufacturers using this application. Thank you very much for your time. Reach out to me if you want to find out more about Netstock. And thank you to CADTALK and the rest of the ISVs that are enhancing manufacturing ERPs so that they can be more profitable in this market. And have a great day.
Now we have a great plan in place. we need to discuss how we're going to execute on the shop floor. Let's hear from the team over at ISE with their product MV2. Here's Rick Reith.
My name is Rick Reith, Senior Manufacturing Engineer for Information Systems Engineering, otherwise known as ISE. And I'm here to talk a little bit about our manufacturing execution system, which is called MV2, which stands for Manufacturing Visibility and Velocity. And I'm thinking about the execution systems or manufacturing execution systems. They really bridge that gap between so many different areas for a manufacturing company. You know, it's always been kind of an island. When I say an island, I'm talking about the shop floor and knowing what's going on out there and communicating to and from. And our strength has always been communicating to and from the shop floor. And when I say communicating, it's not just saying I want to capture data, data collection systems. It's also helping the operators, the supervisors, the plant managers, everybody that actually interacts with the shop floor to understand really truly what's going on there, help them plan their day, and a lot of other things. So just to quickly kind of give you an idea of what our manufacturing execution system does, we'll kind of bring up the application a little bit here. And our application really is kind of set aside where we really understand the shop floor. We understand there's different UI and UXs for the shop floor. And what problems do we solve? Like I said, we really solve that problem of communication. If you've ever, been in a company and have done like meta planning sessions and everybody writes on a card like what areas need improvement, I would say communication is always on one of those little Post-it cards that it gets slapped up on that whiteboard. It is just something that is so critical to actually becoming more efficient, more productive in our personal lives as well as in our work lives. And it's something also that can always be improved upon. So what we've done is for our manufacturing execution system is that let's help communicate for every different area within a manufacturing company. So if you think about, when a customer orders something, right? Whether you're an engineer to order, make to stock kind of manufacturer, doesn't matter. You're actually starting with that demand to make something, right? Your engineers get involved and they actually create that drawing for the part that they're manufacturing. It also spits out maybe the bill of materials as well as the routing steps. That it can go into your ERP system, which will then actually produce the demand, the production order, that will then ultimately get sent out to the shop floor to actually execute that. So these things need to really work together, right? So that manufacturing execution system will then pick up on that production order, that demand to manufacture something, and I'll actually bring it up over here. So if I'm an operator on the floor or a supervisor or anybody, I can walk around and I can see at different areas, this is my dispatch list. These are those production orders that have been prioritized and need to be communicated to the shop floor. And we can, sequence the jobs on this list that says, here's the first priority, the second priority, et cetera, and really help kind of control and distribute the activities that happen out there on the shop floor. So if you're thinking about manufacturing, and what do I need to see, right? I need to tell people what they should be working on, right? What's the demand? What's the highest priority, right? Tell them how to manufacture that, and then give them a simple method for them to report activities. So those are 3 simple tasks that really provide benefits to everybody I've mentioned in the past. So in this case, here's my dispatch list. I selected a job. I could select a different job, and it's actually showing me the parts that are needed to be manufactured, right? There's links here that you can tap out to a CNC program, maybe to download a program to that machine, etc. But this is my demand. And then there's also ability to see a bunch of information. So if I want to see all the information within a shop packet, it's at a touch of my fingers. I hit shop packet. Now I have access to the entire bill of material and routing, which again comes from your ERP system and your engineers. So here are all my routing steps, operations 1000, 1400, et cetera. I can see active statuses and real-time information for what's happening against that manufacturing order and operation or routing step. I can look at my bill of material here to see all the components. I can drill in to say, where do these components reside in my warehouse? So if I am the person required to pick these components, I know exactly where they are, how many are on hand, et cetera. And then I also have all supporting information for what needs to be done to that manufacturing job. We have the drawing. Again, we talked about that from the engineering system. Here's the drawing of what needs to be manufactured, or how it needs to be manufactured. You can have work instructions out here. So my instructions could be, how do I test something? How do I set up a machine? How do I assemble something? How do I actually manufacture this? Again, these are all real important key elements to distribute out there on the shop floor. And if you're thinking about this, how does that help, right? Obviously, everything is there at the touch of the finger, which is great. No more paper packets, right? No more outdated data. So if somebody changes something in your ERP system or in your engineering system, I am changing the drawing, changing the bill of material, changing the routing. All of that gets updated real time so that people are working and see the latest information, the correct information, which is really important. And then what do they want to do with it, right? So here's where you can take that information and I can say, all right, if I want to start and run jobs, I'm selecting this job and selecting the action button. So over here, I can say I want to start setup for this job, or maybe start run, or record indirect information on it. If I want to record pieces, I can record pieces independently. I can also stop jobs. You can work them as a crew. There's a lot of different aspects of the information. So giving them that ability to easily start something and stop something is huge. And we want to make it simple. As you notice there, I'm literally clicking one button and then they can scan their badge to actually provide it further information for who they are. Where does that information go, right? It goes to like dashboards. And these are really, really important for understanding really what's happening on your floor. And most importantly, what are the exceptions? I have a machine down. So in this case, my red blocks here those are current work centers that are currently not performing any activity. They're in a downtime mode. Maybe they're waiting for quality to sign off on something. Maybe they have a problem with a fixture on that machine. Maybe they're waiting for material. But there's a number of different reasons that you can actually define for why those machines are down. Green on the other side of the spectrum, that's everything is good. Job is running. It's on time, on schedule. Nobody needs to worry about it. But then I've got other things out here like yellow. Those are jobs that are currently running at individual work areas, and they're actually taking more time than what's expected. That's the exceptions you want to know about so you can address those today to help you get back on track. And then my blue one down here is a machine that's currently being set up. So there's setup labor or time or status that is being applied to that work area for that specific job. And then my orange ones out here are just jobs that are actually, work centers that are actually not performing any tasks. They're idle. So you can think about this bird's eye view, and you can change this around. So if I want to, have a different look, I have different boards created, or I can have a board that looks like this, which is just 5 work centers that I'm responsible for. If I want to edit this board, I can edit this board as well, which is really, really simple for even your supervisors to change the look and feel of this dashboard. You can even get more complex. I want to know more detailed information. You can have dashboards that are like this, which says, all right, on my left-hand side here, I've got a job here where I'm looking at a work center and I see my expected versus my actual. Really, really important for not only your operators, but your supervisors to keep tabs on whether or not you're performing to expectation. And the quicker you can see this information, the quicker you can react to it and take care of it and actually adjust your work so that you're back on target. Down below, remember I had my work centers that were in downtime mode. These are my 2 work centers in downtime, how long they've been down, etc. These are the real-time metrics that you can see right now so you can act on them today. I think every manufacturing company I've ever been to over my 33 years developing and designing and implementing manufacturing execution systems, everybody has that daily production status meeting. And what do you talk about in that production status meeting? All right, what happened yesterday? Right? What machine went down? What quality issue did I have? What area where I didn't produce as many parts as I thought I would produce? You're dealing with all those exceptions, all those problems. So you think about that. If I can take care of that right now, that production status meeting really gets minimized and potentially even eliminated, which would be awesome. The time savings that you're going to get from that. On the right hand of my screen, I've got more historical data. What's my efficiency for a given work area and how those jobs are running in that work area. Down below here, I've got a downtime chart. How much downtime has been accumulated for the work centers that I chose, so I can actually see, which is the worst performing work center. And we take it one step further, where the software says, all right, I'm going to paint this chart where the worst performing work center is on the left-hand side, because that's the one that you're probably going to dive a little deeper into, say, why is it going down? Create your Kaizen events to understand how you can actually make changes so that you can reduce the amount of downtime for that specific work center. Then we've got also kind of a manager, supervisor, administrator kind of view, where it says, all right, if I want to drill into information and I can maybe look at production information, here are all my production jobs that are out there on the floor. I can see the current status of, how far along they are from being completed. I can see this one is 25% complete. I can drill into it to say, all right, I have 2 operations. First operation is 50% complete. Second one is 25%. You can see the remaining quantity, what's been scrapped, the remaining hours, how many hours have been accumulated so far. If I want to look at the bill of material, I can look at the bill of material to see all of the components that are expected to be used, what's required, what's been issued so far, what's available. If I want to drill into these, I can actually drill in to actually see where they are in my warehouse. Again, giving that 100% visibility to the operators, to your material handlers, to your quality people, everybody out there on the shop floor, for what they can actually see, for what needs to be done, as well as what's currently happening. We talk about quality, right? Quality is another aspect of the application. So this is a case where I have specific tests set up for my manufacturing jobs. So if you're looking at this one, I have test here where I can basically kick off a quality control plan or a test plan and say, here's what it needs to be tested. And so that operator or that quality inspector, real time in process, can do the testing, and I can see that I've got failures. I can actually, report some activity. So I'm going to put my test value here is 233. I can enter that. I actually brought it up after I clicked enter here, is a run chart. Right? A run chart of how that test is being performed, how well is it doing to its expectation, which is huge insight to those operators or those testers on the floor. If you can see a trend where I'm getting closer to those red lines, I can make an adjustment to try to get it back down in time. And if you avoid that non-conformance situation, you're avoiding scrap, you're avoiding rework, you're avoiding delays and extra costs on that manufacturing job. There's a lot of good benefits here that you can pull out of, doing those in-process testing at the time they're happening. There's a lot of different activities that can be done here too. If I look on my screen, I can do Kanban types of activities, labor activities, just piece activities. You can actually do things as individuals. You can do things as crews. You can issue material at the time it's being used, which is a huge aspect of keeping your inventory accurate, right? I know exactly what's been used, what's available, etc. There's a lot of different events and activities that can be done out on the shop floor. So this is just a brief overview of what our manufacturing execution system can do. And you think about why, right? All these little pieces that people have today, the Internet of Things, IoT, right? Where you've got a great engineering system, you've got a great ERP system, you need to have a great manufacturing execution system. Because if you don't, you could have a great plan be created, but if you have poor execution, what are you doing? You're actually having a poor ability to actually meet your commitments to your customers. I could have great execution, but I could have a poor plan. You get the same effect. Same thing goes for engineering. You can create a great engineering drawing, right? But if it's not distributed out to the floor, and if they're not looking at the latest, most current revision for that item that's being manufactured, somebody's going to manufacture something incorrect, which again kicks off that non-conformance, that scrap, that rework, that extra cost, those delays, poor customer satisfaction. All of those things kind of come together. So really what you're thinking about here is making sure you've got the right pieces in place to make sure that you can perform each activity as efficient as possible, and also together. This Internet of Things, it kind of is a buzzword, but it really does mean something. Where you can have these different applications all doing great, and under the covers they talk to each other. To the manufacturing company, they don't need to worry about who does what. They just need to make sure that the information is presented in a good way, in an easy way. It's actually accurate, so everybody can trust the data, and now they can react to it. Talk about AI, right? Everybody's talking about AI, artificial intelligence. Well, in order for AI to work well, you need to have as much data as possible. That data needs to be real time, and most importantly, that data needs to be accurate. Thanks again. Hopefully you got something out of this little discussion about our MV2 manufacturing execution system. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Rick. Maintaining visibility and control is so crucial in minimizing costs and reducing errors. Now, to get our products in the hands of our partners, here's TrueCommerce.
Hello and good afternoon. Really excited to be part of this amazing group of panelists, and even more excited to be talking about creating scalable and agile supply chains for organizations in manufacturing. What I thought I'd do today is take a little time to introduce the group to TrueCommerce, our approach to managed services and EDI, and then how we bring success to our clients when we think about manufacturing and the world of Dynamics 365. From a quick introductory standpoint, my name is Tim Murkowski. I'm one of the enterprise account executives here at TrueCommerce. Been with the organization for a little over 8 years, and during that time, I've had an awesome opportunity to work with manufacturing companies, both leveraging BC and FNSEM, and even more so organizations that are running some of the original models of Dynamics when we think about NAV, GP, and AX. So it's been really awesome to see how Microsoft has evolved over the years, but also how we've been able to continue to support organizations that were on some of those older systems and move to the latest and greatest like we have today with BC and FNSEM. Before we kind of dive into maybe the nuances of the integrations that we provide today, I thought I'd kind of take a start at a high level to talk about really where TrueCommerce comes in today. And really our goal here is to be that end-to-end supply chain management tool. And I don't want the group that's on here today to think that we're only focused on retail presence and selling your product in brick and mortar stores. We do so much more than that. So whether you're working with different marketplaces, it could be Amazon, maybe eBay, maybe you're working with 3PLs to streamline fulfillment. And especially in manufacturing, understanding your procurement process is so important as well, thinking about how you're engaging with your suppliers in different ways. All ways that we're helping our customers today really drive simplicity and standardization across their entire supply chain. Diving into it a little further, I'd like to kind of start with this slide that you see here. Kind of puts all the pieces together when we think about really the value that TrueCommerce brings as a managed service provider. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a handful of different company logos. I'm sure you're familiar with most of them. But I wanted to emphasize on the variance there because, again, just really focuses in on the different layers of connection that we can provide for our customers. So whether it is brick and mortar or a .com customer, maybe you're in the pharmaceutical space and selling products to McKesson's and Cardinals of the world. Maybe you're an automotive supplier and you're working with Fords or Hondas or different OEM manufacturers. All of these different industries we can fully support. And those 6 partners are just a small view of the connections that we provide today, where we currently support a global trading partner library of around 180,000 different connections. In the middle are really all the behind scenes that TrueCommerce is managing on your behalf. So when we think about from a network perspective, how we connect to your trading partners, whether that be via VAN, AS2, FTP, or even API, all of that managed by our team. The next layer that you see here, kind of in the middle of this space, is mapping, right? How are we adhering to your partner's requirements and more so maintaining them? And that's something that TrueCommerce does entirely on your behalf. So let's say you're working with Target and you're up and live with them, and all of a sudden they come out and say, we have a new format for how we need to receive ship notices. We deploy that to your account instantly, so you never have to worry about compliance. Next piece that you see is translation, really our user interface that we extend to our customers in regards to giving you full visibility from start to finish, how data is flowing back and forth between your trading partners and your ERP. And something else we'll focus on here in the next slide, but I'll talk about it first, is when we think about ERP integration. We've worked very hard for over 15 years to be a certified Microsoft integrator. And so what that means is that we've built the integration completely in-house. We don't rely on any third parties when we think about integrating and connecting into either Business Central or FNSCM. And then lastly, maintenance and support. Who's going to maintain all of this? And as we continue to see companies evolve and become more agile, they're moving away from in-house EDI, where they're looking to offload that burden to a third-party provider to manage that. But our goal here is for your organization to think of TrueCommerce as an extension or an arm of your organization. So maintenance support fully provided by TrueCommerce as well. Thinking a little bit about the integrations itself, something that I'll touch on very quickly, and I mentioned it briefly on the last slide, but totally available on the app source today. So we've gone through a very intricate process to be certified and to build the integrations both for Business Central and FNSCM in a manner in which Microsoft wants. So it adheres to their requirements and also fully compliant for all of the upgrades that come out throughout the year. So again, keeping you agile and always ready to scale and grow. From a Business Central perspective, again, direct integration, meaning between our solution and BC, no middleware involved. It's direct API where we're connecting directly into BC. Again, that true end-to-end integration gives you clear visibility across your supply chain. So you're never having to worry about where is this data going? Why can't I see how it's being manipulated? We give you that full data visibility. The other thing that we really focus on is how flexible we are with other ISVs in the network. Something that we've worked very heavily on is our overall relationship and strategic partnership with InsightWorks and a handful of other shipping solutions. But when you think about the critical component of fulfillment and ship notices that you're sending to your partners, we've joined very tightly with them to ensure that we have a clean data pass through. At a high level, though, very robust integration from a standpoint with BC, about 17 different integrated touch points that we have with the ERP today. So when we think about your order to cash process, procure to pay, or even engaging with 3PLs from a warehousing standpoint, all of that's pre-built and ready to deploy to your environment. I know a standard path for a lot of organizations on NAV or GP is also moving to Business Central. So when you think about that potential migration, we're already integrating with those ERPs today. So really providing that streamlined process for you to continue to evolve and grow your organization. From an FNSCM standpoint, we've taken a slightly different approach to integration where we've actually created an embedded module that lives inside the ERP itself. A lot of that came from our experience with integrating with AX for just a number of years before we started focusing on FNSCM. But it's really created this holistic environment inside the ERP so you never have to go anywhere else. So whether that be managing cross-reference tables, error handling, mapping data, all of that lives inside the ERP. And we do that via lifecycle services as opposed to integrating via OData specifically because it makes you more agile and really opens up the floodgates, if you will, when you think about data throughput. We found that when you integrate via OData, it can actually cause some challenges when you have a lot of communication and data throughput. But with lifecycle services, we're really able to open that up for our customers so you can grow quickly and not have to worry about the number of orders or POs that you're sending out or coming into the ERP. The last thing I'll reemphasize here is that from a standpoint of BC or FNSCM, both of these integrations are fully delivered by TrueCommerce in-house. So you're not having to bring in a bunch of extra third parties or install a bunch of extra hardware to integrate the platforms, all fully cloud-based and able to integrate into both of those ERPs today. Thinking about how we actually deliver this for an organization, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about one of our customers, TDL Gentech. And about the last 18 months, they've gone through an extraordinary growth pace, but also a lot of internal change within their organization. And what started with running some legacy ERP and manual processes internally They started to grow quite quickly, went through a number of acquisitions where they brought in a couple companies. And as they continued to do that, they saw that the different processes across those organizations, the manual touch points that were in place today, and the lack of visibility really created a challenge for this path that they were looking to achieve. And so when we think about how do they come together and create the right tech stack to support their overall vision for their organization and achieve the goals they needed, it really came down to a couple of things. One, finding the right Dynamics partner that they worked with, Lid, who's just been a fantastic organization to partner alongside, who delivered an outstanding Microsoft Business Central implementation. And then as a whole, they brought the right ISVs into the platform from a fulfillment standpoint, leveraging InsightWorks, and then working with TrueCommerce from an EDI perspective. And I think one of the things that really brought such success to the overall project was just the level of collaboration between TDL Gentech, Lid, and the ISVs that came in to support the overall project. And in thinking about where they were kind of at the end of 2022 and where they are now, they were doing in their holiday rush about 6,100 orders a month, and then coming to the end of last year, about 19,000 orders a month. And they were able to handle that through all those acquisitions and increased order volumes because they built the right tech stack and had the right team that collaborated well to drive synergy across the different platforms. And what that resulted in was reduced manual entry errors, improved accuracy, better visibility into inventory and fulfillment. When you kind of take a step back from that as well and think about, well, great, that worked for them, but why is it important? And what are you saying today, Tim? I think it comes down to three things. One, when you're looking to invest in your tech stack and implement across the board, one, are you putting something that's going to have agility, that's going to be able to pivot with your organization as you continue to evolve? Secondly, is it scalable? Can you grow quickly? And will the system that you've put in place be able to grow alongside of you? And then lastly, did you pick the right partners that are going to support you long term and not just implement a solution that isn't really there? And are they going to be along for the journey? Really appreciate the chance to have gotten to present, like I said before, alongside this awesome panel. If you have questions, feel free to shoot me an email at tim.rakowski@truecommerce.com. I know we have Summit coming up here in the next couple of weeks, so we'll be there and would love to engage with you. Come visit us at booth 506. And if you're interested in hearing more about the TDL Gentech migration story, we're actually going to be presenting alongside them, Lid and InsightWorks, on Tuesday the 21st. So if you want to get more in depth and hearing about their transformation journey, join us then. But thanks all. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tim. I'm looking forward to seeing the TrueCommerce team in Orlando. So at this point, you've heard from DynamicWeb, managing all your product information in one place and having a robust customer experience platform. You've heard from Netstock and inventory planning. We've seen how to control and maintain visibility of our manufacturing process. And now we've gotten our product in the hands of our partners. All these solutions play critical parts in modern manufacturing. And at the core of all of these is your CAD design. Think about it. At the center of everything, every quote, every order, every production run is your CAD file. How something is designed dictates what materials you need, what machines it goes to on your shop floor. It controls your bill of materials, your routing, your costing. Everything flows from your CAD file. So where it gets interesting is what happens when these things change. What if the material you've been optimizing for is no longer in stock at your preferred supplier? Or you just ordered millions of dollars of manufacturing equipment, so you have to update all of your routings. Or what if you're using something like DynamicWeb's configurator and you have custom order after custom order after custom order? Your engineers are designing variation after variation, and each of these designs need to get into your ERP with the right BOM, the right routings, the right data. What if you had to process 15,000 SKUs in 24 hours? That's where CADTALK comes in. CADTALK is the integration between your design system and Microsoft Dynamics. We build the bridge using our intelligent rules engine between your CAD, PDM, or PLM and your ERP so that your data gets where it needs to go quickly. With integrations to virtually any CAD system, we eliminate the manual data entry that is costing you tens of thousands of dollars per engineer per year. In that hypothetical I mentioned earlier of 15,000 SKUs in under 24 hours, it wasn't actually hypothetical. It was one of our customers. Meet PBC Linear. PBC Linear is headquartered in Illinois and they are a manufacturer of specialty linear bearings. You can find these bearings on the airplanes that you ride on, or in submersibles, or sometimes even in outer space. And here's where PVC Linear becomes relevant to you. They have an incredibly complex process, hundreds of thousands of permutations of their key product lines, and they have been able to fully automate the process from a customer on their website to their custom order being made on the shop floor within minutes. This fully automated process was merely a dream 20 years ago. They worked for years and years on end to get really close. Their customers could build a custom product they wanted on the website with their CPQ, and then the shop floor ran smoothly, creating the product that the customer had ordered. However, between that was a gap of manual data entry that cost them weeks of lead time. With every single order, engineering had to take the custom data from the configured design and manually enter it into the ERP. They had built this incredible system, a custom order configurator, and then a manufacturing process on the back end that worked wonders. And they had nothing to show for it because they couldn't get their data into their ERP quickly enough. They were so close, and that's when they found CADTALK. After implementing CADTALK, PVC Linear took that 2 to 3 week gap between order and production and minimized it to 10 minutes. Think about that, 2 to 3 weeks to 10 minutes. What an amazing return. Just through time savings alone, their vice president of operations estimates that PVC Linear saves over $1 million a year with CADTALK. And not only are they seeing radical time savings, they're also able to refocus nearly their entire engineering team on innovation and product development. But what's all this about 15,000 SKUs in under 24 hours? Well, fairly recently, they bought millions of dollars of equipment that was sitting in their factory waiting to be utilized. And so they had to push all of their design data to be used with these new machines. And because of these new machines, they had to redesign some of their key product lines, resulting in, you guessed it, 15,000 SKUs needing updates. With the push of a button with CADTALK, they were able to leave the facility, get a night's sleep, come back to it with everything having been done. That's the power of CADTALK. That's the power of intelligent integration. Think about the amount of time it would have taken to manually enter that much data from a CAD system into an ERP. And on top of that, think about the amount of time for review or the cost of potential errors. But with CADTALK, it's the push of a button and we do the work for you. When you're able to make changes that fast, you're not just saving time, you're fundamentally changing how you can operate. You can respond to changes faster, you can push new designs, you can create new products, and in the blink of an eye, it gets from your design to your ERP. But here's one thing I want to say. It may look like on the surface that PVC Linear accomplished a 20-year vision overnight, but that's not what happened. PVC had worked with CADTALK for a while, and they had grown comfortable with the system, and they felt it was time to take the next step to full automation. Why that may be good news for you is you may not be ready to have full automation like that. You may want some control. You may want to review. You may want to have the final say if a product gets pushed to your ERP. The good news is that we, CADTALK, have packages for each level of comfortability and automation readiness. You may want to start small, or you might hear PVC's story and want to jump headfirst into the pool of integration right from the start. Both approaches work. The key is having a solution that grows with you. And since CADTALK is a configurable platform, it scales as you do. There's no custom code, and we stay up to date with all the latest versions of virtually any CAD system in Microsoft Dynamics, providing you a reliable place to keep your CAD designs at the center of your operation. If you would like to learn more on where you may fall on the path toward full automation, go to cadtalk.com/journey to find out more. And if you're going to be at Community Summit, swing by our booth. We're right next to the axe throwing station, so we'll be easy to find. Let's discuss your next steps toward integration success. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to that presentation, everyone. Before we hop in with Jen, I wanted to pop up a quick poll for those of you who are in attendance. If you wouldn't mind just answering the poll so that we might know who you would like follow-up from. And before we also hop into our conversation with Jen, I just want to say a quick thank you to all of our presenters, to the teams at DynamicWeb, at Netstock, at ISE, and at TrueCommerce. We could not have done this webinar without you all. And also thank you to Jen for joining us live here And in just a moment, she is going to share her screen to hop into a quick discussion of how you can sort of holistically approach an implementation of sort of this type of scale. So Jen, I'm going to kick it over to you so that you can share your screen. You should be able to share that presentation.
Okay, sounds good. So there you go. Just let me know. You guys should be able to see that there.
Yep, we can. Thank you.
Perfect. No problem. And just so you know, Chris, even though you're by the axe throwing, I won't throw any at you because that was such a great presentation. So thanks for having me. So as a partner, I think it's just important to speak to some of the different components that you guys would want to think about, either as another partner who's implementing and partnering, or as somebody who is a customer looking to use these products. So one of the first things that I would say is just that ROI. Everyone's always very interested in that. And ultimately, when you're partnering up with some of these strategic partners, I would say, you're looking at people who do this all the time. They're experts in their areas. So you're looking at efficiencies in ways of you're not keying things in. Like I'm seeing customers now that they're keying things in 2, 3, 4 different times in different systems. People are not sure what the source of truth is anymore. So these tools allow you guys to be able to have fields and places in the ERP system to put things so that there's one source of truth, there's less rekeying, and everything is just faster. They trust what they see. Obviously, cost savings look at, if you're not walking around the shop floor trying to find things, if you're not keying things in 2 or 3 or 4 times, you have more time to be able to do the things that you're really good at. So that's just kind of saving your time. Risk reduction, like you look at compliance nowadays, there's a lot of regulations from your customers, from your vendors, from management. So from that perspective, they focus on making sure that they understand what are the traceabilities that you need, what are the compliances that you need. So I would say the ROI for these products is just over and over and over again. Like you're constantly saving time. You're having people do things that they were hired to do. They're smart people that are really good at something. Let the software handle how they're collecting their data, and that will support your ability to be able to grow. The second thing I would say, just in terms of partnering with any of these ISVs, would be just managing the expectations of the people around you. So this could be the people that you're training or that are going to be using the software. It would also be maybe the management team that you're dealing with or stakeholders. So the first thing that I would say is just when you're looking at implementing Business Central and you're looking at some of these ISVs, make it a phased approach. Don't try and turn on every single feature or function because it exists. You want to look at your short-term wins. So those are going to be the things that are reducing that double entry, that are the rekeying things. You want to improve your reporting. You want to look at error reduction. Like those should be your short-term kind of wins that you're looking at over your first weeks and months. And then the second thing I would look at is more of that 3 to 6 months. So you're looking at improving your scheduling, you're looking at turning on more features, you're looking at things that maybe you weren't doing before, but you need to. And then long-term, you would be looking at like just kind of culturally adopting technology as a whole. Like I think sometimes technology can make people nervous. So don't try and ask them to do every single feature or function, but talk about each of those phases, talk about the things that you need versus the things that you want, and roll it out in a systematic way that people will actually adopt it. And that kind of brings me to the second point, that if your users don't trust the system that they're working on because you've turned on too many things at one time that now they don't know where problems are, then you're just not going to see the value in that. So I would look at user adoption. I would look at talking to them about the features and the functions that they feel that they absolutely need kind of as a first phase. What are the challenges that they have? What are the things that they don't trust? How can they build that trust within the system? You want to look at that clarity and the emotional connection that people are getting when they're looking at these different products, because again, they're meant to be for specific industries to solve specific problems, but you want to look at the specific problems that the users are experiencing so that they're just going to be happy and adopt it more. I would say to discuss your assumptions early with the group. For example, if you're looking at CADTALK, you're assuming that people are using best engineering practices. If you're looking at an e-commerce platform, then you're going to assume that your trading partners know the mapping that they need and things like that. But I would say that assumptions are something that can happen. You know, you might think that something is very clear because you do it every single day, but write those down. Make sure that all of your parties understand that. So that would be, you know, the CADTALKs of the world or TrueCommerce of the world or eCommerce. It would be anybody that you're going to be working with, as well as, like I said, stakeholders and customers and vendors. There are costs associated with some of these. There's the subscription model that a lot of people are working towards. So what I would say is just talk about what the subscription costs are for different tiers, if that's available with some of these softwares. You would want to talk about the implementation costs. Are these a one-time cost? Is this an ongoing cost? Talk about process improvement costs as they have. So just, I like to work as a partner under the, you know, no surprises kind of model. So that would be something that I would really encourage as you're looking to partner in the channel, which is something that I would absolutely encourage, because nobody can be an expert in everything. So you want to make sure that you are partnering with people that live and breathe this all day, every day. And then define what your KPIs and your metrics are. So if you're not measuring what you're doing, how do we know if it was successful or not? So up front, before you're distracted by maybe some of the features and some of the things that you want to do, my suggestion would be to talk amongst the group about what are those needs and wants, how are we going to measure them, how do we know that they've been successful? So again, just some of the reasons to do this. So I'm a Business Central partner, and I've been implementing and working with Business Central for about 15 years. So some of the main reasons that I would say would be from an upgrade perspective. So twice a year, we're lucky enough that Microsoft gives big releases. They invest in the product. They invest in the fact that it's constantly getting newer and better. And that's in ways of the user interface, that's in performance. But when you have customization to fill a need in your industry, then you're responsible for that customization, and to make sure that every single time you do the upgrades, that they will be compatible and that they will work. If you're partnering with an ISV or somebody in the channel, then they're responsible to make sure that the upgrades will work when Microsoft does an upgrade. They are responsible to make sure that bug fixes are happening if needed, and that is sort of the nature of things. They are dealing with lots of customers that use this, so you're getting enhanced functionality all of the time, maybe things that you haven't even thought of, other customers are bringing to them. They're investing in that development, and now maybe a feature that you don't need today, as you grow and as you scale, you might find that you need features in the future, and you're not being the one that needs to do that development or programming. Their expertise, so I mentioned this a lot. There are, last time I checked, about 7,800 apps on the marketplace right now. No partner can be an expert in absolutely everything. So at my company, we're a manufacturing vertical, so we are experts in manufacturing, but I have customers who have e-commerce platform. I am not an e-commerce expert. I am not a CAD software expert. I am not a inventory control expert. I don't have all of the expertise in all of the different areas. So we align with people who have that expertise, that are living and breathing it every single day. So what we will do is we will tell customers, we can help you with the Business Central platform, we can help you with the manufacturing components of that. But, you know, like I said, maybe EDI, when it comes to EDI, we're not EDI experts in the mapping and everything that goes along with that. So we partner you kind of all together, and as a team, we come up with the best solution. Efficiencies, that's kind of a main thing. So essentially, we want to be the most efficient. Business Central is not meant for every single industry, for every single vertical, just out of the box. So that's why they have created the app source and the marketplace idea, so that you can go and you can look for the specific gap that you have. You can find something that plugs in exactly as you need it, and you can be the most efficient, so that you're not, you know, doing all of your work in your CAD software and then having to go ahead and rekey all of that into your project or your production orders. To scale, so obviously we want to make sure that people are the most efficient when they come to work. So if they're spending extra time double checking errors or rekeying information or looking up information or double checking information, they are not spent being able to grow the way that you guys need. So to scale, to be able to be the most up to date with upgrades and efficiencies and AI and all the fun things that are happening, you want to make sure that you're working together with experts in different areas. And then obviously we've got the cloud ready idea, and that's just kind of getting into this century and making sure that you have the ability to link in, to be secure, but to leverage a lot of these subscriptions that are really, really benefiting people as we go. So the last thing here would just be why to partner and why I've chosen to partner in the past. So I would say with that, there's the Microsoft platform. So again, I mean, they've got a huge name behind them. They've got tons of support behind them. They've got credibility behind them. They have, again, the investment that they're making. So it is not a static product that's going to kind of become stale over time. They're not only infusing with the big releases, but they're also doing these micro releases sort of all the time. So I would definitely say that Microsoft is just the name, and they're investing. The customer base, so again, they're building apps all the time. They've got different verticals that they can help support. They're just giving ideas constantly, and their customers are giving them ideas constantly. And you're benefiting from that when you're choosing to partner with Microsoft. And then again, some of these add-ons that we're talking about today. Efficiency I've already spoken about. So essentially, we just want to be less manual, right? Nobody wants to do things multiple times. Nobody wants to not trust their information. We want to be able to do the things that interest us. We want to do the negotiations and the fun parts, and we want to be able to just enjoy kind of getting the most out of our software and not feeling like it's a burden. The confidence. So again, they upgrade a couple of times a year, as I've mentioned multiple times. So they support that. I don't have to worry about that if I haven't done any kind of custom programming to fill these gaps. It's their expertise. They do it every day. And then again, if I've got technology that's designed for the problem specifically that I'm looking to solve, then I know that the data that I'm looking for is accurate. I know that it links together properly. I know that people using that information and creating KPIs and analytics from that have the right information. And I would say the last thing is just, growth and that competitive edge. You want new technology. You want to make sure that the people around you are investing in the new technology, that they're keeping an eye on trends and they're keeping an eye on what's going on in the market. It would be impossible to do that for every component of your business. So allow the expertise in their area to keep kind of their eye on that, boots on the ground, if you will, and then they can bring to you just trends and things as you need to, and new features, new technology, new functionality. So you're partnering so that you can be an expert in what you do, and then others can be bringing you the information you need as you go.
That's great insight, Jen. Yeah, something that we say around here is that no one goes to school for half a decade or more for engineering just to copy and paste a whole bunch of information. Right. Rather, they go to school to be an engineer because they want to be an engineer. They want to create things. They want to design things. They want to make an impact. And sort of echoing what you just said of partnering with people with expertise that can create efficiency so that you or your people or your clients can focus on the things that sort of give them joy and satisfaction, creates right. a culture that is going to create a meaningful impact in your business and in the world. I think that's really valuable. We are up on time. Go ahead, Jen, sorry.
I was just going to say the last thing, that's the number one reason that people actually leave their organization, is they feel that they're not adding value in what they do. So a great way to partner and use the tools that you need so that you can feel like you're adding the most value. I think that's super important.
Yep. Yes, well, like I said, we are up on time. I want to thank you, Jen, for presentation, tying everything together. If anyone has any questions for any of these ISVs, please feel free to reach out to me, Christopher.Kennedy@CADTALK.com. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope you have a great day.